Welcome back to English 4.0, the radio show. Let's go! Advanced. Hello and welcome back. Advanced students, welcome to Class 77. Getting things started with a little review of what we were talking about in the last class, Class 76. We were talking about the passive voice again, and some verbs that commonly appear in the passive voice, particularly some related, well, I mentioned some verbs such as to be robbed, meaning you're the victim of a theft, to be robbed. So, I was robbed. Really? What did they steal? So the thieves stole. The thieves stole my money. Oh, they stole your money. I was robbed. I was the victim. I was robbed. So it's used in the passive there. Also, to fire. You're fired. The boss doesn't say, I'm firing you. No, he says, I'm sorry, but you're fired. Young man, you're not doing a good job, you're fired, right? So go home, right? But he's not going to use the active voice. He's going to make the person who's losing their job will be the subject, and the subject will receive the verb. This is common with this verb to be fired. So to fire. So you are fired, right? To attack. Again, this idea of being robbed, being attacked, to be mugged as well. So to be attacked. I've never been attacked, to be honest. I'm not going to lie here. I've never been attacked. I've never been mugged. So if someone is mugged, it means that they're they've basically been attacked for their money or for their wallet or for their watch or for something. So you're walking down the street and someone comes up with a knife and says, "Give me all your money." That's a mugging. You've been mugged. M-U-G. And so we also saw the verb to promote, to be promoted, just like to fire. Just like to fire. I'm sorry, but you're fired. Or congratulations, you're promoted, right? I'm not saying I'm promoting you. Maybe a lot of bosses would like to take the credit for that, but theoretically it's the worker who has earned this promotion. So we say you are promoted. So we use, remember, the passive voice, we're using the verb to be conjugated accordingly, and then the participle of the verb, that third conjugation. Have you ever been robbed? No? You've never been robbed? Oh, that's good. Or maybe you have. I've never. Yes, actually, I've been robbed. I have been robbed, yes. I was robbed once. I was robbed a few years ago. My mobile phone, yeah. I was traveling. I was actually in Malaysia. I was traveling, and someone stole my phone. I was robbed. Yeah. Now, would you like to be promoted? Would you like if my boss says to me, "Hey, Kyle, would you like to be promoted?" I would say, "Sure, I'd love to be promoted." To be promoted there. Okay. Have you ever been chosen as a team leader? Have you ever been mugged? Right here. So these verbs that I've just mentioned here, we're using them in the passive voice. So these are verbs that very commonly appear in the passive voice. I'm not saying this is a rule that you have to. You can say, "I mugged him," or "he mugged me," but I have been mugged, right? So these are verbs that very commonly appear in the passive voice. Okay? Now, we also saw in the last class a structure that we used to essentially say, "La última vez que no sé qué en pasado. La última vez que comí espaguetis fue el jueves pasado." Por ejemplo, the last time I could say, the last time I ate spaghetti was last Thursday. Okay? Or but this is a common structure, but the structure we're practicing today is I last ate spaghetti last Thursday. I last ate spaghetti last Thursday. It's true that I last went to Canada For Christmas. I did. I went to Canada for Christmas. I last went to Canada for Christmas. I was last in Canada for Christmas. Essentially saying the most recent occasion on which I was in Canada was at Christmas time. I last went to Canada last Christmas. Right? Okay. So if I give you the direct structure with the last time I'd like you to change it to I last. Okay, so we'll practice this at home. The last time I went to the cinema was in November. I last went to the cinema in November. The last time I drank a Coca-Cola was yesterday. I last drank a Coca-Cola yesterday. The last time I drank a Pepsi was yesterday. I last drank a Pepsi yesterday. The last time I went to a restaurant was 3 days ago. At home? I last went to a restaurant 3 days ago. Okay? The last time I drove a car was on Wednesday. I last drove a car on Wednesday. The last time I watched a movie was last Friday. I last watched a movie last Friday. The last time I called her was last summer. I last called her last summer. Okay? I last called her. I last went there. I last bought one. I last saw him. Okay? So subject, last, and then whatever you did in the past. Okay? So it's another form of saying the same thing, right? The structures are the same, but this is a very common, it's also a very common form, but one that my students seem to struggle with for some reason. It sounds a bit abnormal. It seems a bit strange. So it's worth thinking about and looking at in your student guide here in class 76. Okay, but now we're finished with that for now, and we'll move on to take a look at our expression of the day. Expression of the day. All right, yes, our expression of the day today is to crash a party. To crash a party. This means to come to the party uninvited. Nobody invited me to the party, I crashed it. It doesn't necessarily mean, it tends to have negative connotations, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're violating anyone's rule or anything. It's not like they told you not to come, but if you weren't invited and you show up, we call it crashing the party. To crash a party. To appear at a party uninvited. Okay? To crash a party. All right. Now, I told you a few minutes ago that we would very soon take a look at this. We would review this structure. The last time I ate spaghetti. So I last ate spaghetti last week. We saw this structure, but now I want to practice this structure in the interrogative. So asking questions with it. So if I give you a piece of information, I'll give you an example sentence that I'd like you to ask me the appropriate question. So the last time I went to the beach was last August. Or I could say, I last went to the beach last August. And you can say, Kyle, when did you last go to the beach? Of course, it's grammatically correct. It's very common to say, when was the last time you went to the beach? But it's also a very common structure, and this is the one that my students really need to practice because I don't hear them using it enough. Native speakers use this quite often, but my students don't. So pay attention to this. This is special. This is unique here. Well, it's worth practicing and worth mastering, and you can impress some native speakers by using this structure. So I last went to the beach in August, and you can say, Kyle, when did you last go to the beach? Okay, good. I last used the computer this morning. When did you last use the computer? I last saw him on Friday. When did you last see him? Now, similarly, if I say, she first came to Madrid when she was 3 years old. And the same, the structure is the same. When did she first come to Madrid? Well, she first came when she was 3 years old. When did she first come to Madrid? So I can say, I first saw him in April, and I last saw him in May. When did you first see him? I first saw him in April. When did you last see him? I last saw him in May. Okay? She first came to Madrid when she was 3 years old. So when did she first come to Madrid? Okay? He last worked on the project in 1997. When did he last work on the project? We last dealt with him in 2004. Now, en voz alta. When did we last deal with him? When did we last deal with him? I last spoke to Alberto yesterday morning. When did you last speak to Alberto? Hey, Kyle, when did you last speak to Alberto? I could also say, I first met Alberto 2 years ago. So the question, Kyle, when did you first meet Alberto? When did you first meet Alberto? Yeah, I think it was about 2 years ago when I met Alberto. I first met Richard Vaughan 7 years ago. So the question, Kyle, en voz alta, ask me the question, when did you first meet Richard Vaughan? Yeah, I first met him, I think it was about 7 years ago. Mm-hmm. I last saw him a week ago. When did you last see him? Okay, very common. So when was the last time, hey Kyle, when was the last time you saw him? When did you last see him? It's the same. Okay? When did you last go to the beach? When was the last time you went to the beach? When did you last receive a call? When was the last time you received a call? It's the same, but native speakers use both of these with ease and agility. So it's good to practice that second structure that's a bit less common, and it's good to practice that and get used to using it and master it and get used to hearing it as well. Okay? So good. That's good for now, but we will come back to this and similar structures very soon. But it's time to move on. Vocabulary of the day. Yes, it is time for our vocabulary of the day. Our 5 words of vocabulary. The first word today is traducir. You've got to know this one. Translate. Of course, the verb to translate. To translate. Papel. Now, I'm not talking about paper, but papel as in un papel in a movie, for example. A roll. R-O-L-E. Not R-O-L-L, but R-O-L-E. Okay? Atropellar. To run over. That's right. Good. To run over. Incómodo. Inoportuno. Inconvenient. Trueno. Trueno. Thunder. Thunder. Yes. Ooh, thunder. All right. Yes, that's right. Thunder. So thunder is what we hear, and what we see is lightning. I saw the lightning, but I didn't hear the thunder. That's right. We always see the lightning first and hear the thunder later, because light travels faster than sound, right? So the lightning, what we see, and the thunder is what we hear. The thunder, trueno. Okay, very good. So now it's time to move on to see a little bit of translation. Yeah, a little bit of translation. That's right, it's time for our translation today. Now with list 17. That's right. Focusing on list 17 and getting things started. Number 1. Me quedan bastantes listas por escribir. Es verdad. I have quite a few lists to write. Number 2. Es impresionante lo informado que está ese tío. It's impressive how knowledgeable that guy is. It's impressive how knowledgeable that guy is. Number 3. Tenemos que casar nuestros recursos con vuestras necesidades. We have to match. So we're not marrying them here, but we're matching them. We have to match our resources with your needs. Nice. Number 4. Ensaya tu discurso todas las veces que puedas. Rehearse your speech as many times as you can. Excellent. Rehearse your speech as many times as you can. Number 5. Ponte delante de un espejo. Stand in front of a mirror. Delante. Stand in front of a mirror. Very good. Number 6. He venido para pedir un anticipo. I've come to ask for an advance. I've come to ask for an advance. Number 7. Eres un pesado. Eres un pesado. You're a pain in the neck, we say. A pain in the neck. You're a pain in the neck. Number 8. Este celo es muy pegajoso. This tape is very sticky. This tape is very sticky. Number 9. Pasó su niñez en un orfanato. He spent his childhood in an orphanage. Number 10. ¿Quién es el encargado aquí? Who's in charge here? Who's in charge here? Number 11. Esta es mi última advertencia. No te acerques a mi novia. I like that one. This is my last warning. Don't go near my girlfriend. Alberto. Number 12. Estas directrices fueron elaboradas por un equipo de expertos. These guidelines were drawn up. Elaborados. Drawn up by a team of experts. These guidelines were drawn up by a team of experts. Very good. We're out of time, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for paying attention. I have to end things quickly, but I'll be back tomorrow with more. We'll review all of this and look at so much more. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.